Before we start, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from right now? What time is it in your city? Drop your location and the time in the comments. I am curious to see how far this story travels. Now, let us begin. March 15th, 1855. Louisiana, Magnolia Hill Plantation. 200 people stood around a mahogany coffin. Half of them were white, half were enslaved. Thomas Beaumont was inside, dead for 3 days. Nobody cried. The enslaved people had scars on their backs, worn hands, exhausted eyes. They stood in the sun waiting. The white guests wore silk and lace. They sat in chairs with cold faces. Between them was the coffin and one man with a leather folder. His name was Jonathan Pierce, a lawyer from New Orleans. He cleared his throat and began to read. I, Thomas Beaumont, being of sound mind, do declare this to be my final will and testament. To my wife Margaret I leave $5,000 and the house in New Orleans. To my sons Robert and James I leave $2,000 each. Margaret Beaumont sat perfectly still, thin, pale, 47 years old. Her sons sat next to her. Robert was 26, tall, wide shoulders, mean eyes. James was 24, thinner, nervous. Both stared ahead. The lawyer turned the page. To Isabelle, daughter of Claire, I leave everything else, the plantation, the land, the buildings, all 43 enslaved people. I declare that Isabelle is my biological daughter, born July 4th, 1836. She is hereby freed. She now owns Magnolia Hill. Complete silence. Then a scream. An older enslaved woman collapsed. Others grabbed her. Margaret stood up slowly. She scanned the enslaved people. She stopped on one. Light brown skin, green eyes, 19 years old, wearing a gray dress, hands shaking. Her, that one, Isabelle. Every head turned. White guests gasped. Some covered their mouths. One woman fainted and hit the ground. Her husband caught her and dragged her to the shade. Isabelle could not move. Her legs would not work. She stared at the lawyer, at the paper, at the impossible words. Margaret walked toward her, slow, deliberate. She stopped 2 feet away and raised her hand. Then she slapped Isabelle across the face. Hard. The sound echoed. Isabelle's head snapped to the side. Blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. You? My husband left everything to you. A slave? His whore's bastard daughter. Robert stood up and crossed to Isabelle in 3 strides. He grabbed her arm. His fingers dug into her skin hard enough to leave marks. He pulled her face close to his. You are not my sister. You are property. You are a thing. I do not care what any paper says. The lawyer stepped forward. Let her go. She is free now. She is the owner of this plantation. Touch her again, and I will have you arrested. Robert squeezed harder. Isabelle winced. Then he shoved her backward. She stumbled, but stayed on her feet. Margaret turned to the lawyer. This will is a fraud. My husband was dying, confused. This is not legal. I watched him sign it 2 weeks ago. He was lucid. 3 witnesses from New Orleans confirmed it. This will is valid, and it will stand in any court. We will contest it. You may try, but Mr. Beaumont left journals, letters, proof. You will lose, and it will cost you everything you have left. Margaret stared at Isabelle. Then she smiled. Cold, empty, fine. You want this plantation? Take it. You have 7 days. 7 days before I file the lawsuit. 7 days before I destroy you. Let me see you try to run a plantation. Let me watch you fail. She turned and walked back to her chair. Robert and James followed. The white guests began to leave. Some whispered, some stared, some looked disgusted. Jonathan Pierce walked over to Isabelle. He lowered his voice. Are you hurt? She touched her lip. Blood on her fingers. She nodded. I am fine. Listen carefully. You need to establish control immediately. The enslaved people do not know what is happening. The white family will not leave without a fight. If you do not take charge right now, you will lose everything. He handed her a key. This is for the main house. There are papers inside, documents, ledgers, everything you need. Sign what I tell you to sign, and the transfer is complete. Isabelle took the key, heavy, cold. She looked at the enslaved people. They stared back. 42 faces, some confused, some angry, some hopeful. One was devastated. Her mother, Claire. Claire stood at the back. She was 42 years old. Her hands were covered in scars. Her back was bent from decades in the fields. She stared at Isabelle with an expression Isabelle had never seen before. Not anger, not sadness, worse, betrayal. Claire turned and walked away, toward the quarters. She did not look back. An older man stepped forward. His name was Samuel. He was 58, gray hair, deep lines in his face. He had known Isabelle since she was born. Isabelle. What happens now? Are you going to free us? A younger woman next to him spoke up. Her name was Ruth, 21 years old. She worked in the house. She had been Isabelle's friend when they were children. You were one of us. You know what it is like. So free us. Let us go. Isabelle opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She looked at the lawyer. He shook his head slightly. If you free them without a plan, they will be hunted, captured, sold. You need to be smart about this. So we stay enslaved. That is what you are saying, that you own us now. It was Samuel again. His voice was harder now. Others murmured agreement. I need time. I need to figure out how to do this safely. If I just free you without money or land or protection, you will be worse off. I am trying to help you. Samuel laughed. It was a bitter sound. You sound like him, like Thomas. He always said he was protecting us too, that we were better off here, that he was doing us a favor. He turned and walked away. Ruth followed, then others. They went back to the quarters. They did not believe her. They did not trust her. And Isabelle understood why. Isabelle walked toward the main house. Every step felt wrong. The white columns loomed. The wide porch stretched out. She had walked past this house every day for 19 years, but had never been inside. It was for white people only. It was for masters. Now it was hers. She climbed the steps, put the key in the lock, turned it. The door opened. Inside was dark, cool, expensive. Crystal chandeliers, paintings, thick rugs, furniture that cost more than a human life. She walked through the entrance hall, into a parlor, a dining room, a library with hundreds of books. Everything was perfect. Everything was beautiful. Everything was built on blood. She found the study, Thomas's study. A large desk sat in the center. Papers covered it. She opened a drawer, found a ledger, thick, leather-bound. She opened it. Names, ages, values in dollars. Samuel, age 58. Field worker, value $300. Ruth, age 21. Houseworker, value $600. She turned the page. Claire, age 42. Field worker, value $400. Her mother, worth $400, less than a horse. Isabelle had been bought and sold on paper before she could walk. She turned more pages, found her own name. Isabelle, age 19, houseworker, value $1,000. She closed the ledger, put it back. Her hands were shaking. She sat in Thomas's chair, leather, soft, expensive. This was where he had sat, where he had made decisions, who to buy, who to sell, who to punish, who to breed, who to work to death. Now it was her chair, her decisions. She stood up, walked back outside. It was getting dark. She needed to see her mother. She needed to explain. She walked across the grounds to the quarters. Small wooden cabins, 20 of them, no windows, cracks in the walls, 2 or 3 people per cabin. Isabelle had lived in one until she was 5. Then Thomas moved her somewhere better, separated her, made her different. She found her mother's cabin. Light came through the cracks. She knocked. "Mother, please, I need to talk to you." No answer. She knocked again. "Please." The door opened. Claire stood there. Her face was stone. "What do you want?" "I want to explain." "There is nothing to explain. You are the master. I am your slave. That is all. That is not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair? I gave birth to you. I raised you for 5 years. Then he took you, gave you better food, better clothes, taught you to read, made you special. And I had to watch. I had to see you become something I could never be. And now you own me. Do you understand what that means?" Isabelle started to cry. "I did not ask for this. Neither did I. But here we are. So what are you going to do? Are you going to free me or keep me as your property?" "I do not know." "Then you already have your answer. You do not know, which means you are thinking like them, like the masters. You are deciding what is best for you, not for us." Claire shut the door. Isabelle stood there. The night was cold. She turned back toward the house. Halfway there she heard footsteps behind her, fast, heavy. She turned. Robert was walking toward her. He had something in his hand, a whip, coiled, dark leather, stained. He stopped 10 feet away. "My father kept this whip in the barn. Do you know what the stains are?" "Blood." "Correct. Slave blood. My father used this whip 47 times in the last 5 years. I counted. I watched most of them. And do you know what I learned?" Isabelle did not answer. "I learned that it does not matter what the law says. It does not matter what any paper says. You can call yourself free. You can call yourself the owner. But you will always be what you were born. A slave. The daughter of a slave. And slaves need to be reminded of their place." He started to uncoil the whip. "So let me remind you." Isabelle ran. She turned and sprinted toward the house. Robert laughed behind her. She heard the whip crack. It cut through the air next to her head. She kept running. She reached the porch, grabbed the door, slammed it shut, locked it. She pressed her back against the door. Her heart pounded. She heard Robert outside, walking up the steps. He tried the door handle. It did not open. "This is not over. You understand me? You can hide in that house, but eventually you will come out. And when you do, I will be waiting. My mother will be waiting. My brother will be waiting. We will take everything from you. And then we will make sure you regret every moment you spent pretending you were better than what you are." His footsteps went down the stairs, across the yard. Then silence. Isabelle slid down to the floor. She pulled her knees to her chest. The house was dark, empty, cold. She was alone. 7 days. She had 7 days to figure out how to survive. 7 days before Margaret filed the lawsuit. 7 days before everything collapsed. She looked at the key in her hand. The key to this house, this plantation, this impossible situation. She thought about her mother's face, about Samuel's anger, about Ruth's disappointment, about Robert's whip. She thought about the ledger upstairs. 43 names, 43 people, 43 lives. All of them now hers. All of them depending on decisions she did not know how to make. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would have to start. Tomorrow she would have to become what she never wanted to be. A master, an owner, someone who controlled other people's lives. But tonight she sat on the floor of a dead man's house and cried. Because she knew the truth. She knew what this inheritance really was. It was not freedom. It was not power. It was a trap. And there was no way out. Day 1, March 16th. Isabelle woke on the floor. Her neck throbbed. She stood and walked to the kitchen. Empty. No fire. No food. No coffee. The enslaved houseworkers always prepared breakfast by 6 in the morning. It was past 7 now. She went to the back door. The quarters were silent. No smoke, no voices. She walked across the yard. The first cabin door hung open. Inside were blankets on the dirt floor. Nothing else. She checked the second cabin. Empty. The third cabin had blood on the floor. Fresh, still wet, bright red. She knelt down and touched it. Warm. Someone had been hurt here recently. The fourth cabin had claw marks on the doorframe, deep scratches in the wood like someone had been dragged out. The fifth cabin had a child's doll lying in the dirt. Cloth body, button eyes, abandoned. All 20 cabins, empty. 42 people, gone. Isabelle ran back to the house, found the ledger, opened it. 42 names, $30,000 worth of human beings. All of them had run during the night. She heard horses, 3 riders coming up the road. The sheriff, a fat man named William Drake. 2 deputies rode with him. They dismounted at the porch. The sheriff knocked on the door. Isabelle opened it. Miss Isabelle, we received a report. Your property ran last night. All of them. Is that correct? Yes, the sheriff wrote in his notebook. $30,000 walked away. That is a problem. Do you want us to hunt them down? I need time to think. Time? Miss Isabelle, you have maybe 24 hours before they reach free territory. After that, they are gone forever. Decide now. Do you want your property back or not? Isabelle hesitated. The sheriff leaned closer. Let me be clear. If you let them go, this plantation fails. You lose everything. Your father's widow will buy it at auction, and she will make sure you suffer. So say the word, and we will bring them back. It costs $300, $100 per man plus expenses. I do not have cash. Then sell something. You have a week maybe before this place collapses without workers. Every day you wait costs you money. Make a decision. The sheriff and his deputies rode away. Isabelle went back to the study, sat in Thomas's leather chair, stared at the ledger. Before she could think, she heard breaking glass. She ran to the parlor. The window was shattered. A rock lay on the floor surrounded by shards. A note was tied to it. 6 days left. Margaret. It had to be. Isabelle went to the window and looked out. No one there. But somewhere Margaret was watching, counting down the days until she could destroy everything. Isabelle spent the rest of the day trying to keep the plantation alive. She fed the horses, 12 of them. She carried water from the well. Her hands blistered. She fed the cows, 8 of them. Her back ached. She fed the pigs, 20 of them. Her arms burned. By sunset, she had only fed half the animals. The rest would have to wait. She went back to the house, made a fire in the kitchen, found bread and cheese, ate alone at the massive dining table. 42 people had run because they did not trust her, because they thought she would be just like Thomas. That night she heard footsteps on the porch. She grabbed a candle and went to the door. Who is there? Me? Ruth. Isabelle opened the door. Ruth stood there. Her dress was torn. Her face was covered in dirt. Her hands were bloody. There was a long cut on her left arm. Deep, still bleeding. What happened? We ran, made it 15 miles north. Then the dogs found us. Patrollers, they caught everyone, brought us back to town. They are locked up at the sheriff's office. Waiting for you? Are people hurt? Samuel is bad. They broke his arm, beat him with clubs when he tried to fight. And there is a woman named Mary. The dogs got her, bit her leg. The wound is deep. She is losing blood. You need to come get them before morning, or the sheriff will sell them to cover his costs. How much? $300 for the retrieval, $50 for medical, $350 total. I do not have that money. Ruth pointed at the parlor. That chandelier cost $500. I know because Thomas used to brag about it. Sell it. Sell anything. But get them out tonight. Ruth turned and walked into the darkness. Isabelle stood in the doorway. She looked up at the crystal chandelier. $500. More valuable than 10 human lives, according to Thomas's ledger. She found a ladder, dragged it into the parlor, climbed up, started removing the chandelier piece by piece. It took an hour. When she finally got it down, she wrapped it in a blanket, carried it outside, saddled a horse, tied the chandelier to the back, climbed on. The ride to town took 2 hours. Most shops were closed, but one light was still on. A pawn shop. She tied the horse outside, carried the chandelier in. An old man sat behind the counter. He looked up. "We are closed. I need to sell this tonight." He examined the chandelier. "Worth maybe $200. I will give you $175. It cost $500. Your father overpaid. $175. Final offer. I need $350. Then go somewhere else." There was nowhere else. It was midnight. $200. Done. The old man counted out bills. Isabelle took them. She went back outside, looked at the horse. Thomas had paid $300 for it. She went back inside. How much for the horse outside? The old man followed her out, looked at the animal. $100, $150, $125. Done. Isabelle took the money. $325 total. Enough. But now she had no horse. She would have to walk 8 miles back in the dark. She started walking. The road was empty, silent. Her feet blistered after the first mile. Her legs burned after the second. She heard horses twice and had to hide in the trees. Men on patrol, looking for runaways. If they found her alone at night, they would ask questions she could not answer. She reached town at midnight, covered in dirt and blood from where branches had cut her arms. She went to the sheriff's office. Knocked. A deputy opened the door. "I am here to pay. It is midnight. I have the money." The deputy woke the sheriff. He stood up, rubbed his eyes. "You have it?" $300 for the retrieval, $25 for medical. Medical is $50. You said they broke an arm and treated a dog bite. That is not $50 of care. Fine. $350 total. Isabelle handed over the money. The sheriff counted it. Then he unlocked the back door. Inside was a large cell. 42 people packed together, some sitting against walls, some lying on the floor. All filthy, exhausted, terrified. Samuel was in the corner. His left arm hung at a wrong angle. The bone had broken halfway between elbow and wrist. The skin around the break was swollen, purple, black. His face was covered in blood, dried, crusted. One eye was swollen completely shut. The other stared ahead, empty. Next to him was a woman, Mary. She was maybe 30 years old. Her left leg was wrapped in a bloody rag. The rag was soaked through. Red, wet. Blood dripped onto the floor beneath her. Her face was pale. Her breathing was shallow. She was going into shock. Another man had lost 2 front teeth. His mouth was full of blood. He spit onto the floor every few seconds. A woman had welts across her back, fresh. The shirt she wore was stuck to the wounds with dried blood. A boy who looked maybe 10 years old had a black eye and a split lip. The cell smelled like blood and sweat and urine and fear. Isabelle stepped forward. "I am taking you home." Nobody moved. Ruth stood up. "Why? So you can punish us?" "No, so you can heal. So we can figure this out together." "Together? You own us. You bought us back. You are the master." "I do not want to be the master. I want to free you, but I need help. I do not know how to do this safely." Samuel spoke from the corner. His voice was weak. "We do not need your help. We need our freedom. Then help me figure out how to give it to you without getting you killed." The sheriff opened the cell. "Everyone out. Your owner paid. Time to go." The enslaved people filed out slowly. Samuel could barely stand. 2 men held him up. Mary could not walk at all. They carried her. The sheriff had a wagon outside. Everyone climbed in. Isabelle sat up front. The sheriff drove. The ride back took 3 hours. The sun was rising when they arrived. The sheriff left. Isabelle turned to face everyone. "Samuel needs medical attention. Who here can set a broken bone?" An older woman stepped forward. Her name was Esther, 60 years old, gray hair, scarred hands. "I can, but I need help holding him down." "Do it." They took Samuel into a cabin. Esther called for 3 strong men. They went inside. Isabelle waited outside with the others. They heard Esther's voice. "Bite down on this." Then Samuel screamed. It was not a normal scream. It was the sound of a man being torn apart from the inside. The bone was broken clean through. Esther had to pull the 2 pieces apart to realign them. The sound of bone grinding against bone echoed across the plantation. Birds flew from the trees. Horses in the stable kicked their stalls. Samuel screamed again, louder, higher, the sound of pure agony. Inside the cabin, one of the men holding Samuel started crying. Another turned and vomited onto the floor. The third looked away. His hands were shaking. Esther braced her foot against Samuel's shoulder and pulled. Harder. The bone was stuck. She yanked. There was a wet snapping sound, like a tree branch breaking. The bone popped back into place. Samuel's scream cut off. He had passed out. Esther came out 10 minutes later. Her hands and arms were covered in blood up to the elbows. "He will live, but the arm is bad. The bone broke through the skin. It is infected already. I cleaned it best I could, but he might lose the arm. He might die from the infection. We need to watch him." "What about Mary?" Esther shook her head. "The dog bite severed something inside. An artery, maybe. She is bleeding internally. I do not know how to stop it. She might not make it through the day." Isabelle went to Mary's cabin. The woman was lying on a blanket. Her leg was unwrapped now. The bite was horrific. The dog had torn through muscle down to the bone. Tendons were visible, white, stringy, covered in dirt and blood. Blood pooled beneath her, dark red, almost black. Her eyes were open but unfocused. Her lips were blue. Isabelle knelt beside her. "I am sorry." Mary did not respond. Her breathing got slower, shallower. Then it stopped. She died at 8:15 in the morning. Isabelle checked for a pulse. Nothing. 41 people left now. They buried Mary that afternoon. Behind the quarters there was a cemetery. Small wooden crosses marked graves. Isabelle counted them. 23 crosses. 23 enslaved people had died on this plantation in the last 10 years. An average of 2.3 per year. Some from disease, some from injury, some from exhaustion, some from childbirth, all from slavery. They dug a hole, lowered Mary's body wrapped in cloth, covered it with dirt. Nobody spoke. Ruth cried. Others stared at the ground. Isabelle stood at the back. She had owned this plantation for 2 days, and already someone was dead. 24, the 24th cross. After the burial, Isabelle gathered everyone. I need to be honest with you. This plantation produces 12,000 pounds of cotton per year. That sells for $1,800. Operating costs are $900. That leaves $900 profit. Divided among 41 people, that is $21.95 per person per year. But you are each worth between $300 and $1,000 depending on age and skill. At this rate, it would take between 14 and 46 years to buy everyone's freedom. Most of you will be dead before that happens. Nobody spoke. Isaac stepped forward. He was a young man, 23, strong, angry, 14 years minimum. And how many more of us die in that time? My mother is here, my sister is here, my grandmother is here. How many of them will still be alive in 14 years? I do not know. Then your plan is useless. Do you have a better one? Yes. We kill the white family. We burn this plantation. We run north and never look back. And then what? You will be hunted, murdered, hanged. Is that better? At least we die free. An older man spoke up. His name was Moses, 65 years old. White beard, bent back, dying free is still dying. I want to live, even if it takes 14 years. Isaac turned on him. You are a coward. I am a survivor. There is a difference. They argued. Others joined in. Some agreed with Isaac. Burn everything. Run. Kill anyone who stands in the way. Others agreed with Moses. Stay. Work. Buy freedom slowly. Better to live as a slave than die on the run. The group split. Voices got louder, angrier. Isabelle watched them fight. She had no answers, no solutions, nothing to offer except more suffering. That night, Isabelle went to her mother's cabin. She knocked. No answer. She knocked again. Mother, I need to talk to you. The door opened. Claire stood there. Her face was stone. What do you want? I want to explain. There is nothing to explain. You own me. I am your property. That is all. I am trying to help. By keeping me enslaved? That is your idea of help? If I free you without money or land or protection, you will be hunted, captured, sold to someone worse. I am trying to find a way to do this safely. Claire stepped closer. Her voice was cold. You had a choice last night. You could have let us go. You could have said no to the sheriff. But you did not. You paid $300 to buy us back, to keep us as your slaves. That was your choice. So do not stand here and tell me you are trying to help. You made your decision. You chose to be the master. Now you have to live with it. Claire shut the door. Isabelle stood there. She wanted to scream. She wanted to explain, but there was nothing to say. Claire was right. Isabelle had made a choice, and that choice made her the master. She walked back toward the house. Halfway there, she heard footsteps behind her, heavy, fast. She turned. Robert was walking toward her. He had something in his hand, a knife, long, sharpened. He stopped 10 feet away. My mother wants you gone. My brother wants you gone. I want you gone. So let me make this simple. Leave. Tonight. Sign the plantation over to us, or I will make sure you regret staying. And if I refuse, then tomorrow I come back, and I bring friends, and we burn this place down with you inside it. He turned and walked away, disappeared into the dark. Isabelle stood there. Her hands were shaking. 5 days left. 5 days before Margaret filed the lawsuit. 5 days before everything collapsed. And now Robert was threatening to burn her alive. She went back to the house, up to the study, found Thomas's financial ledgers again, stared at the numbers. 14 to 46 years. $21.95 per person per year. One person already dead. How many more would die? How many more would suffer? She closed the ledger, looked out the window. The quarters were dark, 41 people inside, 41 lives depending on decisions she did not know how to make. She thought about Mary's body in the ground, about Samuel's broken arm, about her mother's face, about Robert's knife. She heard a sound downstairs, breaking glass. She ran down. The parlor window was shattered again. Another rock, another note. 5 days. Then she smelled it. Smoke. She ran to the back of the house. One of the storage buildings was on fire. Flames climbed the walls. Orange, yellow, hot. The roof collapsed inward. Everything inside burned. Tools, equipment, supplies, seeds for next year's planting. All destroyed. Isabelle ran outside, tried to put it out with water from the well, but the fire was too big, too hot, too fast. She could only watch as it burned. The heat blistered her face. Smoke filled her lungs. When it finally died down, nothing was left but ashes and charred wood and twisted metal. She turned around. Someone was standing at the edge of the yard, a figure in the shadows, watching. She took a step forward. The figure disappeared. Isabelle stood there, covered in soot. Her dress burned at the edges, her face streaked with tears. She looked at the ruined building, at the dark quarters, at the empty fields. Then she heard it. Footsteps on the porch, multiple people, heavy boots, whispering. She walked back to the house, looked out the front window. Robert stood in the yard. James stood next to him. Behind them were 10 men from town, all holding torches. The flames lit their faces, hard, angry, cruel. Robert saw her in the window. He smiled. Margaret stepped out from behind the men. She was wearing black. Her face was pale. She looked at Isabelle and mouthed 2 words, 5 days. Then they all turned and walked away, down the road, into the darkness. The torches faded, disappeared. Isabelle locked every door, every window. She sat on the floor in the entrance hall. Her hands were shaking, her heart pounded. She had been the master for 2 days. 1 person was dead, 1 building was destroyed. Her mother hated her. The enslaved people did not trust her. The white family wanted her gone, and they were not waiting 5 days anymore. They were coming back tonight. Day 2, March 17th. Isabelle did not sleep. She sat with her back against the front door all night, listening, waiting. But no one came. At dawn she stood. Her legs were stiff. Her back ached. She went to the window and looked out. The yard was empty. No footprints, no torches, no sign that anyone had been there at all. Maybe it was a warning. Maybe Robert wanted her to be afraid. It worked. She went to the kitchen, made coffee. Her hands shook as she poured. She drank standing up. The house was too quiet, too big. Every sound made her jump. A bird landing on the roof, a branch scraping the window, her own breathing. She went outside, walked to the burned storage building. The smell of smoke still hung in the air. She kicked through the ashes, found twisted metal, burned wood, nothing salvageable. She had lost tools, seeds, equipment worth hundreds of dollars, money she did not have. She heard voices coming from the quarters, angry, loud. She walked over, found Isaac and Moses arguing. A crowd had gathered around them. We should have left last night, while we had the chance. Now they are watching, waiting for us to run so they can hunt us again. It was Isaac. His face was red. His fists were clenched. Moses stepped closer. And go where? North? You think we can make it to the Ohio River on foot? With patrollers everywhere? With dogs? They will catch us in 2 days and drag us back. Or worse. Then we fight. We take weapons from the house. We kill anyone who tries to stop us. And then what? You think killing white people will make this better? They will hang us, all of us, even the children. Better to die fighting than live as slaves." The crowd murmured. Some agreed with Isaac. Others shook their heads. Ruth stood at the edge. She saw Isabelle and walked over. "They have been arguing since sunrise. Isaac wants to run tonight. Moses wants to stay. The group is splitting. What do you think?" Ruth looked at the ground. "I think we are all going to die here, one way or another." Isabelle walked to the center of the crowd. Everyone stopped talking. "I know you do not trust me. I know you think I will be like Thomas. But I am trying to find a way out of this. For all of us." Isaac laughed. It was a bitter sound. "A way out? You mean 14 years of slavery. That is your plan. 14 years and most of us will be dead. You saw what happened to Mary. That will happen to all of us eventually. Then help me find a better plan." There is no better plan. This system is not designed to let us go free. It is designed to work us until we die, and then replace us. That is all we are. Replaceable? Isabelle had no answer, because Isaac was right. The system was designed to keep them enslaved, to profit from their labor, to treat them as property instead of people. And she was now part of that system, whether she wanted to be or not. An older woman stepped forward. Her name was Hannah. She was 50 years old, gray hair, tired eyes. "My husband is buried in that cemetery. 23 people are buried there. Do you know how many more are buried in other places? Places we do not mark? Places we had to hide because the master did not want anyone to know?" Isabelle shook her head. 14 more. 37 people total have died on this plantation since Thomas bought it 20 years ago. That is almost 2 people per year. At that rate, half of us will be dead in 10 years. The crowd went silent. 37. Isabelle had known about the 23 in the cemetery, but not the other 14. Hidden graves, secret deaths, people who disappeared and were never mentioned again. "Where are they buried?" Hannah pointed toward the woods. "In the swamp, where no one goes. Thomas used to send us there at night to dig holes. We would bury whoever died that day. Then he would threaten to sell our families if we ever told anyone." "Show me." Hannah led Isabelle into the woods. Ruth and Moses followed. Isaac stayed behind with the others. They walked for 10 minutes. The ground got softer, wetter. The smell of stagnant water filled the air. Hannah stopped at a clearing. The ground was uneven, lumpy. 14 mounds, no crosses, no markers, nothing. Isabelle knelt down, touched the ground. The soil was soft, damp. She tried to imagine the bodies beneath. Men, women, children, all of them worked to death and buried in secret so no one would ask questions. "Who are they?" Hannah recited the names from memory. Sarah, age 19, died in childbirth. Her baby died too. Marcus, age 42, broke his leg in the field, got infected, died 3 weeks later. Elijah, age 7, got sick with fever. Thomas would not call a doctor, said it was too expensive. The boy died in 4 days. She listed all 14, ages, causes of death, how long they suffered. When she finished, no one spoke. Ruth was crying. Moses stared at the ground. Isabelle felt sick. They walked back to the quarters in silence. When they arrived, the crowd was still there. Isaac looked at Hannah. "Did you show her?" "Yes." "And?" Hannah turned to Isabelle. "What are you going to do about it?" "I do not know. That is not good enough. 37 people, 37 lives. And you say you do not know. You own this plantation now. You are responsible. So tell us, what are you going to do?" Isabelle looked at the faces around her. 41 people, all of them waiting for an answer she did not have. She thought about the graves, about Mary's body, about Samuel's broken arm, about the math that said most of them would die before gaining freedom. I will sell the plantation. The crowd erupted. Some shouted. Some gasped. Isaac stepped forward. What did you say? I will sell it. I will sell the land, the buildings, the equipment, everything, and I will use the money to buy your freedom. All of you, immediately. You cannot do that. If you sell the plantation, Margaret will buy it. She said so herself. And then we belong to her. I will not sell to Margaret. I will find someone else, someone far away, someone who will pay enough that I can buy all of you and send you north. Moses shook his head. No one will pay that much. This plantation is worth maybe $100,000, but we are worth $30,000. You would need $130,000 total. No one has that kind of money. Then I will sell it for less. $80,000, $70,000, whatever it takes, and lose us in the process? If you sell the plantation at a loss, the buyer will keep us as part of the deal. That is how it works. The property includes the slaves. Then I will free you first. Before I sell, I will sign the papers, make it legal, then sell the land empty. Isaac laughed again. You free 41 slaves and try to sell the plantation? No one will buy it. They want the land and the workers. That is what makes it valuable. An empty plantation is worth half as much. Isabelle felt trapped. Every option led to the same result. If she kept the plantation, people would die. If she freed them, they would be hunted. If she sold it, they would belong to someone else. There was no way out. Ruth spoke up. What if we burn it? Burn the whole thing, the house, the fields, everything. Then there is nothing to sell, nothing for Margaret to buy. And we run while it burns. And go where? You think 41 escaped slaves can just disappear? They will hunt us, they will find us, and they will make an example of us. Then we split up, go in different directions, make it harder to track us. Moses shook his head. That means families get separated, mothers from children, husbands from wives. Is that what you want? Ruth had no answer, neither did anyone else. They stood there in silence, trapped between impossible choices. Then they heard it. Horses, multiple riders, coming up the road, fast. Everyone turned. The sheriff appeared. With him were 6 deputies, all armed. They stopped in front of the house and dismounted. The sheriff walked toward Isabelle. Miss Isabelle, we have a situation. Your neighbor filed a complaint, says you have been harboring dangerous slaves, says they tried to escape, says they burned one of her buildings in retaliation. Is that true? Margaret? It had to be. She was lying, making accusations, trying to get the law involved. No, that is not true. My storage building burned, but it was not them. It was someone else. Who? I do not know. Convenient. Miss Isabelle, I am going to need to inspect your property. Make sure these slaves are not a danger to the community. You cannot do that. This is private property. The sheriff pulled out a piece of paper. This is a warrant, signed by the judge. It gives me the right to inspect this plantation and question your slaves. If I find evidence of rebellion or violence, I am authorized to remove them and hold them until trial. So step aside. The sheriff and his deputies walked toward the quarters. The enslaved people backed away. The deputies went into the cabins, started searching, throwing things, breaking what little furniture there was. They pulled people outside, lined them up, started questioning them. Did you try to escape? Did you burn anything? Did you threaten anyone? No one answered. The deputies got angrier. One of them grabbed a young man named Jacob, shoved him against a wall. Answer the question. Did you burn that building? No. The deputy hit him, hard, across the face. Jacob fell to the ground. Blood poured from his nose. Isabelle ran over. Stop. He did nothing wrong. The deputy turned on her. Stay out of this. This is official business. This is my property, my workers. You have no right to hurt them. The sheriff walked over. Actually, I do. If they are suspected of rebellion or violence, I have the authority to use force. Now step back, or I will arrest you for interfering with an investigation. Isabelle stepped back. She watched as the deputies continued, hitting, shouting, threatening. They found nothing, no weapons, no evidence, no reason to arrest anyone. But they kept searching anyway, kept asking questions, kept using violence. After an hour, they stopped. The sheriff walked back to Isabelle. I did not find anything today, but I will be back. And if I hear about any more problems, I will remove every single one of them. Do you understand? Yes. Good. Keep them under control, or you will lose everything. The sheriff and his deputies rode away. Jacob was still on the ground. His face was swollen. His nose was broken. Blood covered his shirt. Ruth helped him up, took him to his cabin. Esther came to treat him. Isabelle looked at the others. They were all staring at her, accusing, blaming. She had promised to protect them, to find a way out, but all she had done was bring more violence, more suffering. Isaac walked over. You see now? You see what this system is? They can come here any time, do whatever they want, hurt whoever they want, and there is nothing you can do about it, because you are part of it. You own us, and that makes you one of them. He walked away. Others followed, back to their cabins, back to their lives of fear and pain. Isabelle stood alone in the yard. The sun was setting. She had been the master for 2.5 days. One person was dead. One building was destroyed. One man was beaten. And she had 4.5 days left before Margaret filed the lawsuit. She went back to the house, up to the study, found Thomas's will, read it again. He had left her everything, the plantation, the land, the people. He thought he was giving her freedom, but all he had given her was a prison, and she was trapped inside it with everyone else. She heard breaking glass downstairs. Again. She ran down, the parlor window, another rock, another note, 4 days. Then she heard screaming. Outside. She ran to the window. One of the cabins was on fire. Flames climbed the walls. Someone was inside. She ran outside. Moses was already there. He kicked the door open. Smoke poured out. He went inside, came out carrying a woman. Her name was Grace. She was unconscious. Her dress was burned. Her skin was blistered. Esther ran over, checked her pulse, shook her head. She is alive, but barely. She breathed too much smoke. Her lungs are damaged. She might not make it. Who did this? Moses pointed to the woods. I saw someone running, could not see who, but they set the fire on purpose. Poured something on the door. Made sure it burned fast. Robert, or James, or someone Margaret sent? It did not matter. The message was clear. They were not waiting 4 more days. They were coming tonight. Isabelle ran toward Grace's cabin. Moses carried her inside, laid her on a blanket. The smell hit Isabelle first. Burned flesh. Sweet, sickening. She stepped closer. Grace's dress had burned away completely. The skin underneath was black, cracked like dried mud. Clear fluid oozed from the cracks. Blisters covered her arms, her chest, her neck. Some had already burst. Raw pink flesh showed beneath. Her face was the worst. The left side was melted. The eye on that side was swollen shut. The skin around it was white and waxy. Grace was still breathing, short, shallow gasps. Each breath made a wet, rattling sound. Esther knelt beside her, checked her pulse, looked at the burns, shook her head. She will not survive the night. The burns are too deep, too much of her body. Her lungs are damaged from the smoke. There is nothing I can do. Can we give her anything? For the pain? Esther looked around the cabin. There was nothing, no medicine, no herbs, nothing. I can give her water. That is all. Isabelle went back outside. The fire in the cabin had been put out, but smoke still rose from the charred wood. The door was completely burned. The walls were black. Inside was destroyed. Whoever set the fire had poured something on the door to make it burn faster. Oil, maybe? Or kerosene? They wanted Grace dead. Isaac walked over. "This is your fault. You brought this here. You should have let us go. I was trying to protect you. By keeping us enslaved? By making us targets? They are burning us alive now. What comes next?" Isabelle had no answer. Isaac was right. Every decision she made led to more violence, more death. She was trying to help, but all she was doing was getting people killed. Ruth appeared. Her face was pale. "There are people at the edge of the property. I saw them from the quarters, men on horses, watching us. How many? Maybe 10, maybe more. They have torches." Isabelle walked to the front of the house, looked out toward the road. She could see them, dark figures on horseback. Torches lit their faces. Orange, flickering. She recognized Robert, James. Margaret was there too, sitting on a white horse, watching. One of the men threw his torch. It flew through the air, landed in the yard. The dry grass caught fire. Flames spread, fast, hot. Another torch landed near the first, then another. The grass between the house and the road was burning. Isabelle ran inside, grabbed buckets, ran to the well, started hauling water. Moses and Isaac came to help. They threw water on the flames, but more torches kept coming. The fire spread faster than they could stop it. Within minutes, half the front yard was burning. Then the torches stopped. The riders sat there, watching. The flames lit the night. Isabelle stood in the yard, covered in soot, breathing hard. The fire was contained for now, but the message was clear. They could burn this place any time they wanted, and there was nothing she could do to stop them. Margaret turned her horse and rode away. The men followed. Their torches disappeared into the darkness. Isabelle went back to Grace's cabin. Inside, Esther was still there. Grace's breathing had gotten worse, slower, shallower. Her lips were blue. Her eyes were closed. Isabelle sat down beside her. She did not know what to say, what to do. She just sat there, watching a woman die because of choices she had made, mistakes she could not take back. Grace stopped breathing at 3 a.m. Esther checked for a pulse, found none. She pulled a blanket over Grace's body, looked at Isabelle. 2 dead in 3 days. How many more before this is over? Isabelle did not answer. She walked outside. The sun would be up soon. Day 3, March 18th. 4 days left before Margaret filed the lawsuit. But Margaret was not waiting 4 more days. She was burning them out. 1 cabin at a time, 1 person at a time. They buried Grace at dawn, next to Mary. 2 new crosses. 25 graves now, 26, counting Grace. 38 total, including the hidden cemetery. Almost 2 people per year for 20 years. The math was simple, brutal. If nothing changed, half of them would be dead in 10 years. After the burial, Isabelle called everyone together. "I am leaving. Today. I am going to ride to New Orleans. Find a lawyer. File papers to free all of you before Margaret can file her lawsuit. It will take 2 days, maybe 3. But when I come back, you will all be free. Legally. On paper. No one can take that away." Moses stepped forward. "And what happens after? We are free, but we have nowhere to go. No money, no land, no protection. We will be hunted, captured, sold again. You think a piece of paper will stop them? I will give you money. From the sale of the plantation, enough to get north, to start over. You do not have that money yet, and even if you did, it will not be enough. 41 people. You would need thousands of dollars. Do you have that? No? Then your plan will not work." Ruth spoke up. "What if some of us stay? Work the plantation, keep it running. That way, there is income, money to help the others get north. We split up, half go, half stay. Then when those who stay earn enough, they leave too. And who decides who goes first? Who stays behind? Families will be separated, children from parents, husbands from wives. Then families go together. We split by family units, not individuals." Moses shook his head. "That still leaves some people behind for years, maybe decades. And what happens if Margaret buys the plantation while Isabelle is gone? What happens to those who stayed?" Isabelle looked at the faces around her. Everyone was tired, scared, desperate. There were no good options. Every choice led to suffering. Every plan had fatal flaws. I do not have all the answers, but I am going to try. I am leaving this morning. I will be back in 3 days with freedom papers for everyone. After that, we figure out the rest together." Isaac laughed. It was a bitter sound. "You really think you can fix this? You think you can just ride to New Orleans and make everything better? This system does not work that way. It is designed to keep us enslaved, to make sure we never escape. Your papers will not change that." "Maybe not, but I have to try." "Why? Why do you care? You could just leave, walk away. Let Margaret have this place. Let us deal with the consequences." "Why stay? Because my father made this mess, and I am responsible for cleaning it up. Your father is dead. You do not owe him anything. I owe you, all of you. 38 people have died here. I cannot bring them back, but I can try to make sure no one else dies. That is why I care." Isaac stared at her. Then he turned and walked away. Others followed, back to their cabins, back to their lives of fear and waiting. Isabelle went to the house, packed a small bag, money, papers, Thomas's will. She saddled the last horse. The others had been sold or killed. This was the only one left. She climbed on, looked back at the plantation, the burned buildings, the graves, the cabins, the people watching her from doorways. She rode toward the road, past the burned grass, past the place where the torches had landed. As she reached the road, she saw someone standing there, blocking her path. Margaret, on foot this time, alone, going somewhere? New Orleans? To do what? File freedom papers. Margaret smiled. "You think that will work? You think freeing them will save this place? Let me explain something to you. This plantation is worth $100,000 with slaves. It is worth $50,000 without. When you free them, the value drops immediately. And when the value drops, I will buy it, for pennies. And then I will fill it with new slaves. People I buy at auction. People who have never been free. People who will never question me. So go ahead. Free them. It does not matter. You lose either way. Then why are you here? Why are you trying to stop me? Because I want you to suffer. I want you to watch everything you love burn. My husband left me for your mother. He gave everything to you, a slave's bastard daughter. He humiliated me, destroyed my family. So yes, I want you to suffer, and I will make sure you do, for as long as it takes." Margaret stepped aside. Isabelle rode past her, down the road, toward town, toward New Orleans, toward a solution that might not exist. The ride took 8 hours. She stopped once to rest the horse, to drink water, to eat bread she had packed. The road was empty, quiet. No one stopped her. No one asked questions. She reached New Orleans at sunset. The city was loud, crowded, people everywhere, carriages, shops, buildings 3 and 4 stories tall. She had never been here before. Thomas had never brought her. She did not know where to go, who to ask. She rode slowly through the streets, looking for a lawyer's office, a courthouse, anything. She found a small office on a side street. A wooden sign hung above the door. Jonathan Pierce, attorney at law, the same lawyer who had read Thomas's will. She tied the horse outside, knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again, harder. The door opened. Jonathan Pierce stood there, older than she remembered, tired. Miss Isabelle, I did not expect to see you here. I need your help. Come in. She followed him inside. The office was small, cluttered, papers everywhere, books stacked on every surface. He cleared a chair, motioned for her to sit. What happened? Everything. People are dying. Buildings are burning. Margaret is trying to destroy the plantation. I need to free them, all of them, before she files her lawsuit. Can you help me? Jonathan sat down, rubbed his eyes. Freeing 41 slaves is not simple. It requires paperwork, court approval, money, and time. Even if we file today, it could take weeks for the court to process everything. I do not have weeks. I have 4 days. Then it cannot be done. Not legally, not properly. There has to be a way. Jonathan looked at her. His expression was serious. There is one way, but it is dangerous, and it might not work. Tell me, you can declare them free by proclamation. Write a document, sign it, have it witnessed. That makes them legally free in the eyes of the law, but it does not require court approval. It takes effect immediately. So I can free them today? Yes, but there are problems. First, anyone can challenge the proclamation. Margaret will. She will argue that you do not have the authority, that Thomas's will is invalid, that you are incompetent. The court will have to decide. That could take months, and during that time the freed slaves are in legal limbo. They are technically free, but anyone can claim they are not. They can be captured, jailed, sold. There is no protection. What is the second problem? The second problem is that freeing them does not solve the economic issue. You still own the plantation. You still have debts, operating costs. If you cannot pay those costs, you lose the land. And if you lose the land, Margaret buys it. And she will argue that the freed slaves should come with it, as part of the property. So even if I free them, she can take them back. She can try. Whether she succeeds depends on the judge, on the arguments, on how much money she spends on lawyers. It is a gamble. Isabelle sat back. Every option was a trap. Every solution had fatal flaws. But doing nothing meant more death, more suffering. She had to choose. Write the proclamation. I will sign it tonight. I will take it back tomorrow. They will be free by morning. Jonathan nodded. He pulled out paper, ink, started writing. Isabelle watched. The words appeared on the page. Slow, deliberate, legal language, formal declarations. At the bottom was a space for her signature. He finished, handed it to her, read it. Make sure you understand what you are agreeing to. She read. The document said that all 41 enslaved people at Magnolia Hill Plantation were hereby freed. Effective immediately. No conditions. No exceptions. They were no longer property. They were human beings. Free to go wherever they wanted. to work wherever they chose, to live as they wished. Isabelle signed her name. Jonathan signed as witness. Another lawyer from the building signed as second witness. It was done. Legal, binding, 41 people were free. Isabelle left the office. It was dark now. She found an inn, paid for a room, slept for a few hours. At dawn she rode back. The road was empty again. Silent. She rode fast. The horse was tired, but she pushed it anyway. She had to get back, had to tell them, had to show them the paper that said they were free. She reached the plantation at noon. Smoke rose from the quarters. More fires. She rode faster, reached the yard, jumped off the horse, ran toward the smoke. 3 cabins were burning, completely engulfed. Flames everywhere. Moses and Isaac were throwing water, trying to stop it, but the fires were too big, too hot. The cabins collapsed, roofs caved in, walls fell, everything inside was destroyed. Isabelle ran to Moses. Was anyone inside? No, they set the fires at night. We saw them coming, got everyone out, but we lost 3 cabins. 12 people have nowhere to sleep now. Where is everyone? Gathered at the cemetery, waiting for you. Isabelle ran to the cemetery. 41 people stood there, silent, watching her. She held up the paper. You are free, all of you, as of last night. This document says you are no longer slaves. You can leave. You can stay. You can do whatever you want. You are free. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Ruth stepped forward. What does that mean? Free? We have no money, no land, nowhere to go. If we leave, we will be hunted. If we stay, Margaret will burn us alive. So what does free actually mean? It means you have a choice. For the first time in your lives, you have a choice. I know it is not perfect. I know there are dangers. But it is better than being property. It is better than being owned. Isaac walked forward. You think a piece of paper changes anything? You think this makes us safe? We are still in Louisiana, still in slave territory. That paper means nothing unless we can get north, and we do not have the money to do that. Then I will sell the plantation, use the money to send you north, all of you. And how long will that take? Weeks? Months? How many more of us die while you negotiate with buyers? I do not know. Then your paper is worthless. Isaac turned and walked away. Others followed. Some stayed. Uncertain, scared, free but trapped. Isabelle stood there holding the proclamation, the paper that said they were free, the paper that changed everything and nothing at the same time. She had tried to save them, but all she had done was give them a different kind of prison, one without walls, but just as inescapable. That night another cabin burned. This time someone was inside, an older man named Joseph. He was 73 years old, too slow to escape, too weak to fight. The flames consumed him. His screams woke everyone. By the time they put out the fire, he was dead, burned beyond recognition, nothing left but charred bones and ashes. They buried him at dawn. Another cross, another name added to the list. 39 total, now. Isabelle stood at the grave, watched them lower what was left of Joseph into the ground, covered him with dirt, said prayers she did not believe. When it was over, Moses walked up to her. 3 days, 3 dead. How many more before you admit this is not working? I am trying. Trying is not enough. Joseph is dead because you tried. Grace is dead because you tried. Mary is dead because you tried. Maybe trying is the problem. Then what do you want me to do? Leave? Walk away? Let us handle this ourselves. And how will you do that? We will burn it ourselves. The whole plantation, everything. Then we run. We split up. Head north in small groups. Some of us will make it. Maybe most of us. That is better than staying here waiting to be burned alive one by one. Isabelle looked at him, at the others standing nearby. They were all thinking the same thing. Escape, violence, destruction. It was the only option left. When? Tonight, before they come back, before they burn us all. Isabelle nodded. There was nothing left to say. No more plans, no more solutions. Just survival, just escape, just the desperate hope that some of them would live long enough to see freedom. She went back to the house, packed her bag, took the proclamation, the will, the ledgers, everything that proved who she was, what she owned, what she had tried to do. Then she walked outside and watched as Moses and Isaac prepared. They gathered oil, kerosene, anything that would burn. They poured it on the main house, on the remaining cabins, on the storage buildings, on everything Thomas had built, everything he had owned, everything he had used to enslave and destroy. When they were ready, Moses looked at Isabelle. Last chance. You can still walk away. No one will stop you. I am staying until everyone is gone, until this place is ashes. Moses lit a torch, handed it to Isaac. Isaac walked to the main house, threw it through a window. The fire started immediately. Flames climbed the curtains, spread across the floor, up the walls. Within minutes, the entire house was burning. Moses lit another torch, threw it at a storage building, then another and another. Isaac and Ruth did the same. Soon, everything was on fire. The whole plantation was burning. The heat was unbearable. The smoke choked the air. The sky turned orange. Isabelle stood in the yard, watched it all burn. 20 years of slavery, 20 years of suffering, 20 years of death, all of it turning to ash and smoke and memory. The enslaved people gathered at the road, 40 families, 41 people who were technically free but practically trapped. They split into groups. Families stayed together. Moses led one group north. Isaac led another west. Ruth led a third east. They would circle back north later. Avoid the main roads, travel at night, hide during the day, hope the chaos of the fire covered their escape. Isabelle stood there alone, watching them disappear into the darkness, watching the plantation burn, watching everything collapse. Then she heard horses, multiple riders, coming fast. She turned. Margaret, Robert, James, the sheriff, 10 deputies, all of them staring at the flames. Margaret rode up to Isabelle. Her face was twisted with rage. You burned it. You destroyed everything. Yes, you will pay for this. I will have you arrested, tried, executed. You will die for this. Maybe. But at least they are free. Margaret screamed, a sound of pure fury. She turned to the sheriff. Arrest her, now. The sheriff dismounted, walked toward Isabelle, pulled out chains, wrapped them around her wrists, locked them, cold, heavy, binding. You're under arrest for destruction of property, arson, theft. You will be taken to jail. You will stand trial. Do you understand? Yes. The sheriff led her to his horse, lifted her up, tied her hands to the saddle. They rode away, back toward town, back toward jail, back toward whatever punishment the law decided she deserved. Isabelle looked back once. The plantation was completely engulfed now. Flames everywhere. Nothing would survive. By morning there would be nothing left but ash and memory. Thomas's legacy destroyed, his empire burned, his sins erased in fire. And somewhere in the darkness, 41 people were running, free but hunted, alive but in danger. It was not the ending she had wanted, but it was the only one possible, the only one that gave them a chance. She turned forward, faced whatever came next, chains on her wrists, smoke in her lungs, and the faint hope that somewhere someone would survive long enough to tell this story.